Estamos em mais um programa Entre Amigos Conversando com o Mundo, que é um programa da UNIÃO PLANETÁRIA, TV Supren, e hoje nós temos aqui a oportunidade, estamos aqui na Embaixada do Sri Lanka, para conversar com o embaixador de Sri Lanka, que é o Mohamed Musthafa Jaffeer. Mas antes de começar a entrevista, eu queria falar um pouquinho sobre a UNIÃO PLANETÁRIA. Para quem não conhece muito bem, a UNIÃO PLANETÁRIA é uma instituição sem fins lucrativos, que tem a sua sede em Brasília, mas que tem presença em várias partes do país e agora está expandindo para o mundo, já tem uma sede na Espanha e desenvolve vários projetos. A TV Supren é o seu principal projeto, mas ela tem o projeto Pedagogia das Virtudes, que já está na 37ª edição em termos de seminários públicos, em parceria com várias entidades, universidades, e maçonaria, governo, enfim, é uma iniciativa que visa trazer a virtude para o centro do nosso processo educacional. E nós temos vários projetos, como, por exemplo, o 2022, o Brasil que Queremos, que é feito em parceria com a Universidade de Brasília e agora também com outras universidades públicas, que visa pensar o Brasil que nós esperamos e queremos ver dentro dos diversos segmentos e áreas em que nós atuamos na nossa sociedade. E esse programa é um programa que já vem sendo realizado em parceria com várias embaixadas, em que nós trazemos a visão de mundo que cada um dos embaixadores, dos países tem para oferecer, focando na contribuição que cada país pode dar. Então, hoje é uma grande satisfação estar aqui com o embaixador de Sri Lanka. Sir, it's a pleasure to be here with you. And we would like to start our interview asking you to give us a general idea about Sri Lanka, its history, and its position in the world today.
It's a great pleasure to meet you and your viewers through this medium. And yes, it's an important thing that for us to come from Sri Lanka to Brazil, and also that we are astounded by the beauty and also the diversity of the people, and also that the unique and friendly people, which make us, first I wanted to say, home to us. So then that makes us very comfortable in living in Brazil. Having said that one, that now that to tell about my country, that Sri Lanka, known as a pearl of island, situated in the Indian Ocean. It is 65,000 square kilometer, but the country has a very diversity of the nature as well as its people and its rich culture. What makes us as a very proud to exhibit to the world, so that we have been receptive to foreigners from time memorial, that many people have traversed our country. The traveler Ibn Battuta, then Faxian, and so many people have visited even in the 15th, 16th centuries. So this makes us as a visitor, so that our cultural history and our traditions and our customs, that makes us one people and also gives us an identity. Thank you.
You know, I've been to Sri Lanka a few years ago, right, and I was very impressed with the beauty of the country. The beaches are very nice. They even look like the beaches we have in the northeast of Brazil. White sand, the temperature of the water is warm, it's very beautiful. And you have, as you said, the diversity of landscapes. You have very warm weather on the coast, but you have mountains, beautiful mountains, and very beautiful tradition. I was very impressed with the cultural tradition, the religious tradition that you have in Sri Lanka. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about this tradition.
Thank you, Eduardo, for highlighting that one. But what is more important for our people is its people. That to our people have simplicity, and they're always smiling people and welcoming people. That makes us very hospitable to the foreigners, those who are visiting that. Then, of course, yes, that we have nice beaches, that has been one of the attractive, and also that our culture as well as our religion, that has been, we have a long history of our culture. So then that many people, those who visit our country, are excited to see those cultural relics, that it starts over 2,500 years, that since the advent of Buddhism, and also even prior to that one, when the visitors have come from time to time.
Yes, I've been to some of these relics, these historical sites, especially near Dambulla. I visited some caves where there are Buddhist sculptures, and it's fantastic. You have like hundreds of Buddhas, carved in the stone, and it's a marvelous experience to be in such a place. You can feel the magnetism of the place that has been there for so many years, hundreds of years, thousands, and also the Sirigia, in the mountain, is something very touching. I was very impressed, and we can feel that the religious tradition is something very old and intense in Sri Lanka.
Because the religious tradition, you correctly mentioned about that one, the religious tradition, the customs and rituals, that gives us as a kind of a identity, sense of identity for Sri Lankan. But we have a very cultural, diverse people there, where in addition to Buddhism and also Hinduism, Islam and Christianity. So that makes us that as a kind of a sense of Sri Lankan identity. So then based on that one, that over the years, that it has been passed over, those cultures and traditions, for generation to generations. So that makes us more strength, and also it gives guidance how that we could be helpful for humankind, and to be more helpful to develop global peace.
Yeah, that's something that I think is very important. The Buddhist tradition works a lot towards this peaceful view, this peaceful attitude towards the whole world. And you are one of the main Buddhist countries in the world. The majority of the population, I think 70% is Buddhist. And you have this great tradition that you can see in the caves, in the temples. And it fits it also, there's a harmony between the Hinduism and Buddhism, although the Buddhism tradition is older and it encompasses a larger area. But it's nice to see that they go along well. In the past you have had problems, but it seems now that you have been having a peaceful time since 2009, right?
Right. Yeah, because that the traditions, and you mentioned that one, so when you visited that one, these are reflected through our religious festivals, religious plays, and also it reflects in our food and art and drama. So that the culture is reflected, and you could sense that one you visit there. So of course that similarly then, if you, for example, we have a very important ritual, the religious festival called Kandi Perahara, where that we take that one in a pageant, Lord Buddha's tooth relic for 10 days. Similarly, we have Katharagama festival. Then the other religions also have whale festival, similarly Nallur. So these are a part of our symbolism that comes to as a whole Sri Lanka.
It's interesting that the population participates intensively in the festivals. This is very nice. And I felt when I was there that the population had a great respect for the Buddhist monks and for the tradition. They were looked as very special people. And when I was there, I had the chance to participate in a meditation course with a Buddhist monk that he's from Holland, but he lives now, for a long time he has been living in Sri Lanka. And it was a beautiful meditation course in the Theravada tradition. And I feel that the Sri Lanka, with all its beautiful places, beaches and temples, it kinds of attracts us to go deeper in ourselves and to meditate and to contemplate nature. We have such a beautiful nature there.
You mentioned about this, the Buddhism and its traditions. So the Buddhism came with Prince Mahinda in the advent of 6th century. So since then that the Buddhism has have the predominant religion in Sri Lanka. So that is reflected through the temples. Wherever you Sri Lanka, you would not miss a temple. So that where that it has a very beautiful way that you could see the carvings and Lord Buddha's lifetime. Also, that is in murals that has been there. For example, you mentioned about the Dambulla temple. It's one of the World Heritage Site. Similarly, we have a number of World Heritage Sites that we are very proud of.
Sigiriya is also...
Sigiriya also is a World Heritage Site.
Yes.
So then Galle Fort is a World Heritage Site. So then this is something that it's the duty for us to continue to preserve those cultural heritage sites that is for the benefit of our coming generations and also for the world. This is something that we try to work on that one.
Very nice. Well, we're going to give a short break now and soon we'll come back.
Okay.
Então nós estamos dando pequeno intervalo agora nessa entrevista com o embaixador de Sri Lanka e daqui a pouco nós voltamos conversando com o mundo. Até já. Estamos de volta com o nosso programa Entre Amigos Conversando com o Mundo e hoje nós estamos aqui na Embaixada Sri Lanka conversando com o embaixador de Sri Lanka, o senhor Musthafa Mohamed Jaffeer. E nós estamos falando sobre a cultura de Sri Lanka, que é uma cultura riquíssima, basicamente é um país budista, mas que também tem uma minoria hinduísta e também alguns muçulmanos. Mas o que nós observamos quando visitamos o Sri Lanka é uma riqueza muito grande de sites, né, de cavernas e construções e templos budistas que são realmente um grande patrimônio da humanidade reconhecido pela Unesco, como o embaixador estava dizendo, né? Então a riqueza cultural do Sri Lanka é impressionante. We talked about the culture of Sri Lanka, but I was very impressed when I was there about nature. You have a very preserved nature. It's a green country, much more than India. India has less forests. You have preserved well your forests, and you have national parks that are very beautiful. Perhaps you could talk about, because this is something that's very impressive in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it's an important area, Eduardo, because when it comes to nature, the nature is part of our culture. It comes with Sri Lanka that from the Buddhist philosophy, a king's responsibility is to preserve the resources and pass it down to the coming generation. So that in addition, we are also not only responsible to develop sustenance for the humankind, but also we have a responsibility to safeguard all living things. That is something from coming there. So that is have gone into that from our ancient time, that to preserve that nature as a part of our cultural heritage. So that as it comes to that the environment, this is something that is close to our heart.
When I was there, I visited a nursery for elephants. It was very beautiful, and the elephants are very important in the Buddhist and also in the Hindu tradition. Is like a sacred animal, and it is one of the countries where I have a very good preserved number of elephants, and you can see them in many places in the natural reserves. And this nursery was very nice, a lot of small elephants and some big ones also, and they were in contact with people, doing arts. So I thought this was very touching.
This is because you mentioned about these elephants, because that we have that the elephant sanctuary, because where that the elephants get orphanage, the small baby elephants, then that we stranded, then that they were brought and were brought in a bit of a domesticated environment. But when it comes to that, our environment, that we have a very rich environment, number of species, and some are very unique to Sri Lanka. Therefore, that we have the national reserve in one of the rainforest, Singharaja, that's very close to us, that like your Amazon. So this is a very unique rainforest in Sri Lanka.
You can do safaris also in Sri Lanka.
Yes,
right?
So that is the Singharaja one of the area, and in addition we have the animal sanctuaries are there. So then that also the protected areas where that you could visit those some areas to see elephants and other animals in their natural living condition. This is that you are referring to that.
Yes, one. Yes. They are free to move around, and they are well treated also. You can see them feeding the baby elephants also. Right. It's very interesting.
Yeah, you were mentioning about the Pinnavala, that the elephant orphanage,
yes.
And in addition that we have two wildlife area, the Yala and Vilpattu, and this is area that where most of the animals that are living in that environment.
Yes, very interesting. And I would like to talk about now one of main products of export from Sri Lanka, the tea. The Ceylon tea is very famous, and when the British were there, they valued a lot the Ceylon tea. Until now, a lot of people in Britain still use and consume the Ceylon tea. And I tasted the Ceylon tea; it's really nice. When I was there, I saw these big plantations of tea, especially in the mountains. It's so beautiful and very interesting.
Yeah, this is the tea that you mentioned about that one. So that is in the central highland, and we are the number one export of tea, quality tea that is to the world, and number of brands that is appreciated. The tea was brought by the British that during the plantation, they built plantation during their colonial time, but now that it as one of the cash crop for us, that is that important export commodity for us, that to market. One of the intention also that is for us to make that Brazilian people and also the South America that more that to enjoy our taste of tea and to bring some experience from that tea, so that you would have, when you visited those estates, they all look like a very green carpet area, gives a very peaceful, serene environment for the visitors, soothing environment. About everywhere, wherever you turn, it's a very green mountains that is for miles and miles. That is something very unique for us, and we are very proud to have, and also that we are glad that we have come to possess that asset for us.
Yes, I had the experience of having tea in a very beautiful place in a terrace with a view of the mountains and the tea plantations. It's quite an experience, to be in a beautiful place in the mountains with a nice nature around and tasting a delicate, a very nice tea. And you have different types of teas with different brands, and they all so tasty, very, very good. And you also export cinnamon, right?
Yeah, that in addition to tea, that we export cinnamon. Cinnamon is very unique to Sri Lanka. It gives a very aromatic taste, and it is being used in number of products like cakes and different other food preservatives, so that in order to give that the necessary bring that taste. So this is if you visit some of the southern part of area where that the cinnamon is how that is processed, that is a very unique one. And so even in Brazil, we find that one Sri Lankan cinnamon, because it's a very unique, I must say that one.
Yes. Now, going back to the Buddhist tradition, could you talk a little bit about what you think the most important message that Sri Lanka is bringing to the world?
The Buddhism, that when it comes to that one, is the mainly for the peace. It is something, a way of life for the peace. That is something we wanted to convey. Then when it comes to that, our responsibility to preserve and to respect not only the humankind and everything. So, and that is the important message that comes from the Buddhist philosophy, the way that how a man has to adjust his the needs, and how he has to bring that control to the greed or some other thing, how to balance his life and also to respect every living thing in a harmonious manner. It's bring the harmony. That is something that the main philosophy that comes from that one.
I think this is a very important philosophy, to respect nature, to respect all human beings, independent of what religion or nationality they have. And I think Sri Lanka is bringing to the world this message that is very important. And I think the Buddhist tradition there, that's very old, has contributed a lot in this regard. And I don't know if you are aware, but our first president of the Theosophical Society, because União Planetária is very linked to the Theosophical Society. Our first president was Coronel Alcott. He lived in Sri Lanka, and he published Buddhist catechism, which was very important to spread the Buddhist philosophy in Sri Lanka and also to the world. So there is a connection between our work in the Theosophical Society and also in União Planetária and the work of Buddhism in Sri Lanka and also in other parts of the world.
Yeah, you mentioned about the Colonel Alcott's contribution for the development of the Buddhism and the Theosophical Society. I was fortunate to have a copy of the Dhammapada's not the entire Dhammapada, but some of the concept that has been published in the Portuguese version, and yes, by one gentleman. So then that was recently. So then we were. That's how that we came to know about the Theosophical Society, existence of the Theosophical Society in Brazil.
Yes. It is interesting that the work of Colonel Walcott was submitted to the Buddhist monks, and they made a few changes, and they agreed that the content was totally in tune with the philosophy of Buddhist philosophy. So something that has been important for the people in the island and also to the world, because this book has been published in many languages, not only in Portuguese and English.
Colonel Walcott's contribution to Buddhism is immense, and because that he was during the colonial period, that he saw that how the Buddhist principle and its philosophy could were under pressure, and that how that it could be that the positivities of it has to be brought, and that through that brought that change and into thinking.
And his work was to make people to understand the value of this ancient tradition that's so rich, and so it has the power to transform man and to promote compassion, to promote a way of life in tune with nature, and respecting all the religions. So I think this is very nice, and I'm glad now to have this connection with Sri Lanka through Colonel Walcott.
Yeah, because he was during the colonial time, and the more of an influence of the European culture were rather imposed on the people, and that so this is something that his contribution got help to reawaken among the people in the local, that how that they have to look at themselves in terms of Buddhism, and that is something that is a very immense contribution.
Well, we are about to end our program, and I would like you to give to the people that are watching this program a final message about your feelings about Sri Lanka, about your tradition. So you may.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to see you all through this medium, and Sri Lanka is a resplendent country, and also it promote a number of things that people could enjoy. So then we want more and more people from this part of the world visit Sri Lanka to understand its rich culture, its environment, and its food. This is something that we are looking forward from the people in this country. And also we want here to foster more friendly relations between people to people. This is something that the people, when they visit from one country to other, they could appreciate and understand. I'm sure that you have done that one, and yes. So that I hope that many people will be visiting our country to understand, learn about the country.
Okay. Thank you very much for your attention, your interview. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.
E então, nós estamos chegando ao final do nosso programa, e eu, como foi dito pelo embaixador, eu recomendo que vocês conheçam Sri Lanka. É um país que eu já estive, apreciei muito, não só pela beleza, pela tradição, mas pela culinária também, que nós nem tivemos tempo de conversar, que é das melhores culinárias do mundo. Então, vamos ficando por aqui, agradecendo mais uma vez o embaixador. Até a próxima.
Boa.